I think that is an answer to that myth. And it is that time is neutral. It can be used either constructively or destructively. And I'm absolutely convinced that the forces of ill will in our nation, the extreme righteous in our nation, have often used time much more effectively than the forces of goodwill. And it may well be that we will have to repent in this generation, not merely for the vitriolic words of the bad people and the violent actions of the bad people, but for the appalling silence and indifference of the good people who sit around and say, wait on time.
Ced Hawkins here, and welcome to the CedTalks Podcast. My guest today is an entrepreneur, owner of MarQ Productions, UMD alumnus, and a very driven individual. I'm looking forward to our conversation and seeing what he's going to bring to the table today. So without further ado, here is Will Norris. Will, welcome to the show.
Hey, man. Thanks for having me on here, man.
Yeah, man, absolutely. Like I said before I hit the record button, I see you're a very driven individual. You're doing some big things in your life, and that's something that the podcast is all about. Me getting to know people, see how they got to different areas in their life, and trying to, take that, apply it to my life, and also for my viewers as well. So, once again, thank you for your time.
Anytime. Seriously. I'm glad for the opportunity.
Yes, sir. When this pandemic first hit us back in March, how did it affect you and how did it affect your business?
So, initially, definitely slowed things down just because everything was shut down. Nobody really we were in that kind of just paranoia. So, people didn't want to be around people at all. But in a way, after that initial shock, it actually did end up helping me out a lot because a lot of stuff ended up going digital and with video. And that's something that I specialize in at this point. So I had some companies calling me asking, hey, you're a film guy. Can you go and record this and send it so we can do this and that? And that's just sort of how I've been able to, keep things going throughout all of this.
Yeah, I can respect that, staying on your grind in spite of whatever's going on in the world. Because even now with me, there are some times where I can't really meet up with people face to face and record. But just the fact I can have a conversation with somebody on the phone and still get my content out there, it's a pretty great thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Being able to keep the train rolling.
Exactly. Besides, recording and whatnot, producing and making music, what were some of the other things that kept you grounded, kept you encouraged in a way when everything first shut down?
I guess besides all the production stuff, just my friends, being able to talk to them. It's kind of weird because I talk to my mom about how when she was a kid, if something like this happened, she'd be so much more isolated than we are now. I can still call my friend on FaceTime and talk to them, be able to play, still be able to interact. That's huge for trying to stay sane throughout all of this, is not feeling isolated.
Yeah, for sure. I'm glad you touched on that too, because I couldn't even imagine how my grandparents would be in the 60s or the 70s going through this period of quarantine and isolation, not being able to reach out to people on cell phones and whatnot. It's just crazy.
Yeah, it would have been. I probably would be absolutely out of my mind right now.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And so, what are some of the things that your company is all about, MarQ Productions? Elaborate on that a little bit more for the people.
So the best way to kind of describe myself, instead of just saying I'm a camera guy or a videographer, I'm more of just a content creator, and I'm somebody that tries to get that done and get things pushed out as quickly as possible. So just trying to keep things moving. So in terms of what the company does, we handle a lot of videography, photography, music, and artist management. And it's just trying to think of the best way to put it. I just try to keep things going as often as I can. I try not to stop because I feel like in this world of content creation, you kind of stop. You give yourself a lot of time here because, people's attention span is so short. You got to keep on, go.
Exactly. I was looking at your YouTube page the other day and I saw you did like a short film. Short films like really interest me because it's telling a very short story, but it's also leaving you wanting more. And it's like you never know when that next short film is going to come out again. So you just knock it out of the park and it just leaves your audience wanting more. So, congratulations to that video that you put out. I especially liked it.
Oh, thank you so much. That was a lot.
Yeah. When did you get into, videography and that type of stuff? Was it as a kid?
So it actually, until pretty recently, I was in college at the University of Maryland. I believe it was my senior year of college, just on a whim, like, buy a camera. And I remember a lot of the people around me, like my girlfriend at the time, my roommates, they're, why are you buying a camera? Like, there's better ways you could, like, what are you going to do with that and just have it? And I was like, I don't know, something's telling me I should buy a camera. And I bought it, learned how to use it, took some short video photos and started to really get into it probably summer of 2019. So like with my YouTube, there used to be a lot of videos on there with just like movie reviews and stuff like that because that was what I was into. And it was really just to get more familiar with using a camera and get more experience editing videos and put them together and working with the green screen and stuff. And after probably mid last year, I started to get into like, okay, let's get a better camera. Let's get a little bit more professional with this and let's start working on other projects. And that's gotten me to where I am now.
Yeah, I can respect that, man. Especially that intuition deep down inside to where you want to put something out and you feel it in your spirit. That's how, with me with the podcast, that's just how I truly felt about it. I wanted to somehow get a certain type of message out there besides posting pictures on, my social media and whatnot. And then, this came to be, God willing, this year, hopefully I can continue to build my brand up, maybe branch out onto YouTube and start doing videos, face to face with me on camera versus off camera.
That'd be awesome. I think in this day and age, it's really important to have some sort of visual aspect to what you're doing. So that way, people can see you, and when people see you, and that's just make you more and more in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. Where does your creativity come from when you're planning out your different videos and you're planning out what to produce? Where does your inner creativity come from?
A lot of it just comes from things that I've seen or just watched before. I think I have this app called Letterboxd, and it's something that kind of keeps track of all the movies and stuff you've seen. And I think at this point I've watched over 1,500, and I just try to not copy, but emulate, because, those are the guys who are doing the highest level you can do it at. And it's just interesting because something I've learned as time goes by, there isn't really too much of like original thought out there. It's more just taking the same thought and giving it to people their own way, because you can read a story and think, I would have done this differently, or maybe that's not what you would have done, but it's still give somebody a different perspective on that same thing. And that's something that I try to fight to just show through the stuff that I make or the stuff that I do, is just showing different perspectives, because that's what, at the end of the day, that's kind of about, is seeing all those different perspectives.
Yeah, I agree with you, especially in the sense that, like, in the year 2021, like, there isn't a lot of original thought or creativity. I think that goes for everything, whether it's music or the film industry. It's like everything is the same and no one's really, branching out and trying something new. Like, even if, like, mumble rap, for example, like that was something new and innovative a few years back. People may disagree or agree with it, but it's something that's pretty much stayed the same for the last 10 to 11 years or so. It really hasn't changed. Nothing has really came out of the norm yet to where we go, oh, like this is pretty new, like I'm digging this.
Right. But it's almost like it's just the battle of who can do it the best.
Yeah.
That's just what it comes down to at the end of the day.
Exactly. When you make your products, your films and whatnot, are you in competition with others, or are you just doing it pretty much for yourself?
Honestly, I do it just to see if I can do it. I'm not really paying too much attention to what other people do. I do like other people do because I think it's cool. I think it's really cool when someone thing from start to finish get it done. But I wouldn't say I'm anybody. I'm just trying to get out the best thing that I can possibly do. And if somebody puts out something that's tight, I'm gonna be happy for them because it was tight, and I'm gonna try to put out something tight myself.
Yeah, and that's how it should be. It shouldn't be a competition. It's a very hard thing to do. Like, it's easier said than done for me to say, oh, like, I'm not doing this to be competitive or whatnot. And then you are doing your research on other people, trying to find ways that you can emulate them or maybe style after them in a lot of ways. But it's like you have to run your own race so you can get to that high level to where that person is at.
Exactly.
Yeah. I want you to talk to me about your childhood. Growing up as a kid, what was that like for you?
So growing up as a kid, until I was about 5, I lived in PG County, so I wouldn't really count that as my formative years. Mm-hmm. Majority of my down here in Calvert County. And, I kind of split time between here and PG, going back and forth to my grandma's house. Both of my parents police growing up, PG County police. So I spent a lot there when they were working or midnight, grandmas in Landover. And it was just, it was cool with police parents because they teach you about, stuff you probably wouldn't learn about until you were older, but, they made me very aware of it at a young age. And also with that being said, in terms of just the creativity aspect, my mom is a singer. Mm-hmm. So I've watched her get ready for shows. I've watched her as I've gotten older into like high school and stuff like that. She's had me run shows and stuff like that for her. Even Trey being here on the episodes before, he was there to help run some of her shows as well. And just trying to keep, I guess, stuff in that same spirit of, they taught me how to work hard at a young age. And I've just kind of kept that rolling, just kept that going.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. It's pretty cool how that runs in the family of, I guess, show business in a lot of ways and just wanting to produce content and, get your voice out there or get your thoughts out there. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely been interesting.
Yeah, and so you going back and forth from PG County to Calvert County, is there a certain county that you specifically prefer?
See, a good amount of my friends live down here in Calvert,
right?
Like the Trip and like Isaiah Carter and people like that who I work very closely with. So like I do love Calvert County, but I feel like, especially after I turned like 13, I spent a lot of time in county as opposed to here, mm-hmm. just because where I went to high school, where I went to college, and it's just, I guess those are the more formative years in somebody's life, and that's kind of how I built my identity a little bit, to be like this guy who goes back and forth between the two. I try not to really even call any home at this point. I know where it is I need, and that's the place I am,
Yeah, absolutely. It's cool how you're kind of versatile with it, and each county, wherever you travel to, it really doesn't matter to you. You're still the same Will, you're still the same person, and people still respect you for your hustle, your drive, and for what you do. That's something I can, appreciate, because when I had my first job in PG County, it was kind of hard to separate myself. I felt like I couldn't act like a certain way around those, individuals because I came from a different county. So, that's something I can admire on your part.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. How would you describe your school life? Did you like school a lot when you were, coming up as a kid and even in high school?
To be honest, I never really liked school a lot, but it was something I was always good at. I took like all honors throughout school, AP classes in high school, and I graduated from college pre-med. But it's not something that like I love doing because I hate the tedium of it. I hate I hate sitting and doing homework. I hate sitting and letting someone just talk to me for a long time like that, like lecturing at me. Mm-hmm. If it's something I'm not interested in, of course. Because I did the pre-med stuff just because it was something I said I wanted to do when I was young, and I saw it through and got the degree. So I have the piece of paper, but it just never really interested me a whole lot.
Right. I feel you. Oh, excuse me. It's really difficult, sometimes when you feel like you're in this element and, you feel as if that you really shouldn't be here, but it's almost like you have to be there at the same time because there's a certain goal that you want to, achieve, even though you don't really have the desire to really be there.
Right. So it just makes it weird,
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, but I just don't really care about this.
Absolutely. What made you choose pre-med as your major?
So growing up, when my parents were, police and stuff like that, I actually wanted to be a forensic scientist for a long time. I love watching die, and I just thought it was interesting. And as I got older, reality starts to hit, and I look, okay, what's a forensic scientist salary? And it was like $40,000 a year, and I was like, yeah, that's not that much.
Yeah.
So I was like, I looked at the class forensic scientists would take versus what a doctor would take, and they're very similar. And I was like, okay, I could be a doctor because I do want to help people. That is something that's like one of my goals and missions in life is to help as many people as I can, and that was the outlet that I chose. And of course, I chose the hardest route I could, but it was just something that called to me, and it's what I saw through. As miserable as some nights were, I made sure I got through it.
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty cool, being able to have that interest in science and just have that ability to, see certain things like that. Science definitely does interest me in a lot of ways. I'm more of a English kind of person, but if English really wasn't my thing, I could see myself in the science field studying different things and wondering, how things work and why it works out. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And so shifting gears from that, with MarQ Productions, when did you realize that you wanted to start your own, business and start putting out content like that?
So I knew I wanted to make content, and as a result of that, I used to work with this company, Bayside Entertainment, down here in Calvert.
Yep.
Right. And that was where I kind of got my start into making videos and stuff like that. And it was always a goal of mine and a goal of my mom's to make sure I had something that was also, for me to take care of too. And she was the one who drove me down there to the LLC, Department of Taxation, all that assessments and taxation, and said, look, you got to get this paperwork, just take care of it. It takes 5 minutes. And I was like, okay, cool. So I went there and just knocked out the paperwork. And, from there, it's just been something that I've been taking a good amount of care towards.
Nice, bro. That's what's up. What's your favorite video that you probably ever produced?
My favorite video I've ever produced, the one I probably was fun up until this point that I produced was probably First Place, the music video for Trey and Mozzie.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one I probably like the most. The one I feel like I worked the hardest on was probably the Forever music video on Bayside Entertainment's page for Trey.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first real music video I'd ever made.
Gotcha.
So nerves were through the roof. Just didn't really know what I was doing too much, but we got it done. And I think to this day, it's still the hardest music video we've made yet.
Yeah.
So I think that was the first one.
Yeah, but that's got to be very fulfilling, though, to finally get that final product out there and know that you achieved it when you were struggling with it maybe at the time, or you didn't think that it would turn out the way you wanted it to.
Yeah, it's the best feeling in the world when you can finally hit that publish button on YouTube and just be done with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we're now in the new year. It's 2021. What are some of the goals that you have for yourself, whether that's with your career, with your, the business that you own? What are some of the things you're looking to accomplish?
So the thing I'm looking to accomplish is probably just monetization, finding a way that I can get these videos done, put them on YouTube, and see some type of profit back for them. I feel like that'd be really, really cool just to have. And then just to keep gaining more and more of a following, because something I've always told for people like that I don't really care about people knowing what my name is at the end of the day, but if they see the videos and they like them, that's good enough for me.
Right.
If I can nameless faceless person, but people still know the stuff that I make, I'm cool with that.
Got you. That's what's up. And my final question to you, before I go ahead and let you go, is if you could offer a piece of advice to someone out there looking to create some type of content or get their thoughts out here into the world for them to really, understand them in a lot of ways, what would you say to that person?
The biggest advice I give to anybody, and this is something that I've had to give to myself and something that Zay has repeated over and over again, and just kind of one of our mottos is that to just keep doing things. Honestly, the best thing you can do is not stop. Just literally keep trying, keep writing, keep reading, keep rapping, keep singing, whatever it is you want to do, just keep doing it. And you're going to keep getting better and better naturally, just because it's something that you're dedicating your time towards. And with that being said, don't chase perfection. Anybody who's an artist or creative wants to put out this perfect product. And sometimes, you're going to land, you're going to hit that perfect product. But if you're going to keep chasing that, that's going to keep delaying your stuff over and over. Like, I've watched a lot of talent not be where they should be right now just because they're chasing that perfect product and they have to put it out.
Yeah, I can definitely resonate and feel with that. Sometimes when I ask those questions, it's questions that I'm looking for answers to, because as someone who is a perfectionist myself, I'm always looking for, the best thing, for everything to be perfect. But in the last few months, I've learned that not everything has to be like 10 out of 10 and has to be perfect. Sometimes it'll be a 9 out of half, or sometimes it's going to be an 8 out of 10. God forbid it's going to be a 5 out of 10. But so long as I continue my grind and keep doing what I'm doing, then people are going to resonate with me and they're going to, want to listen to more. And that's what it's all about, being able to touch people with what I'm putting out as a creator.
For sure. And I remember there was one thing that my professor taught me, or not taught me specifically, but everybody in the class, because first day is, and they talk to you about, how the class is going to be graded and this and that. And this was organic chemistry. And I don't know if you've heard about the reputation that class has, but, it's one of the hardest classes.
Yep.
And it's the averages that you get on tests are going to be around 50% or something like that. Like, if you get a 60%, you're going to get an A on that test, which sounds weird. And we asked the professor, why do y'all do that? And they said, a lot of y'all in the room are aiming to be doctors, you're aiming to be this, you're aiming to be that. And you need to learn now that there's no such thing as a 100% in life. You're not going to get a 100%, but you just got to work hard and get whatever it is you can get. And then the rest of the world will catch up to work.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Well, I want to thank you so much for your time, Will. I appreciated this conversation, and I can't wait to get this episode out there and for everyone to, listen to your thoughts, bring more attention to what you do, and I wish you the best of luck.
Oh, thank you so much for having me, man. This was great, and hopefully, we can talk again and get some other stuff done.
Absolutely, man. Thank you again.
No problem, man.
Yep. All right, y'all. This wraps up this edition of the CedTalks Podcast. Remember to stay blessed and stay encouraged, and I'll be back with y'all soon.